want to start by showing you the most flattering image of myself I could find. That goofy-looking clown up there was me in high school. I had just moved to Austin, Texas from Singapore, so I used to do this weird dance thing because, believe it or not, I actually thought doing that would make me friends. Somehow it did. So it all started off well and good. But it rapidly took a darker turn. For about a year and a half, I squandered away my life with drugs. And so did many of my new friends. I lived, 2 of them did not. I too was headed down that path until one day when I saw the movie Black Hawk Down. Watching the courage of men sacrificing their lives for their fellow human beings made me ask myself, would I be able to do the same thing? And I didn't have an answer. So I decided to find out by enlisting in the toughest branch of the US military, the United States Marine Corps. Life in the Marines was a constant series of battles between me and my limitations, and I loved every minute of it. Until about 3 years later. The toughest battle I've ever fought was after coming home from the war in Iraq. When I got back, the Veteran Affairs Administration in the United States diagnosed me with post-traumatic stress disorder. See, before I even left, I lost a very close friend of mine to the war. I felt guilty that I didn't go there with him. To this day, I feel guilty that it should have been me sitting in his shoes so he could have come back home to his fiancée. I felt like I didn't deserve to live. I didn't deserve to be happy. I didn't deserve to be here. When so many others like him had sacrificed so much more and done so much more than I had. I couldn't handle life in the normal world. So I drank. And I drank a lot. I drank to the point that I even considered taking my own life. And that hit me hard. That's when I realized something needed to change. So I began spending all my time studying neuroscience and psychology to learn how to heal my own brain. And in that research, I found that if we don't find a worthy struggle to pursue, struggle will find us anyway, as it had found me. The path to growth and happiness for me was not to avoid fear, but to welcome it. So that whole label of PTSD, I rejected it. It was just a label. It didn't define me. It wasn't real. So I created a new one, Fearvana. I'll be honest though, I did not create it. I just like to think I did. My lovely wife was the one who coined the name. As the unpaid creative director in our little team, she's the one with all the talent. I had just been living this idea, but she crystallized it by giving it a name. What began as a philosophy turned into a profession to help others shatter their preconceived limitations and ultimately find happiness. Because Fearvana is the bliss that results from engaging our fears to pursue our own worthy struggle. Combining these two forces of fear and nirvana wasn't just something we randomly came up with. It had been proven by research. In the largest study on happiness ever conducted, with thousands of people from across the globe, Professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi concluded that the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur when a person pushes his body and mind to their limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. A voluntary effort, our own worthy struggle. That doesn't mean becoming a doctor or engineer if that's what your parents told you to do. Fearvana can be being a doctor or engineer if you feel like that's what gives your life meaning, if that's in alignment with your sense of purpose here on this earth. It can be anything. For me, Fearvana has been climbing mountains. It has been scuba diving into a frozen lake or dragging an 85-kilogram sled for 550 kilometers across an ice cap for a month. Even building a business. That's what building a business looks like for me. I don't know if it's the same for everybody here, but that's my experience. Fearvana is also standing on this stage. As we've been seeing from all the speakers all day, it is terrifying speaking in front of such a brilliant and successful group of people. But like every other voluntary struggle I've ever taken on, that's what makes it worthwhile. Fear is a gift that unleashes our greatness, which is why I've always found it so funny that it has such a bad reputation. We often hear things like, don't be scared, or there's nothing to be afraid of. We think it's fear that stops us from writing a book, quitting a job we hate, walking up to a pretty woman or a handsome man, anything, everything. Sure, fear is at the root, but it's not the fear that stops us, it's how we respond to that fear. When I took on that research for neuroscience and psychology, one of the most valuable things I learned was that no emotion is inherently bad or good, because we don't control what first shows up in our brain anyway. It's the meaning we assign to those emotions that matter. Simply by choosing to harness the energy of an emotion in a conscious effort to pursue something worthwhile, we can turn any emotion into our ally. Even guilt. I learned to use my guilt, not get rid of it, but use it, and told myself, if I am still alive, let me do something meaningful with this life. Let me make Fearvana bigger than me. Let me find a worthy challenge to pursue, because I knew that if I didn't seek out a worthy struggle, it would find me anyway. And it isn't just me that this is happening to. We see this happening all over the globe. Statistically speaking, 1 in 4 people in this room has an anxiety disorder. 350 million people across the globe suffer from depression. That's more than the entire population of the United States. And perhaps worse of all, by the time I walk off this stage, 13 people would have taken their own life. That is horrific. And no matter how it shows up, though, every problem we face is inability to handle adversity, which is why in that same study on happiness, Professor Csikszentmihalyi also concluded that the most valuable and essential virtue we can ever learn is the ability to transform adversity into an enjoyable challenge. As I'm sure anybody here can relate, life can beat you down. It's unpredictable. We don't know what our own lives are going to look like a few years from now, let alone the lives of our children. We all need to know how to thrive in that uncomfortable unknown. Adversity is not only inevitable, but I believe it's desirable. We turn adversity into our ally. We make it an enjoyable challenge when we seek it out in pursuit of our growth and our happiness. When we engage our fears to reach Fearvana. And that doesn't mean looking for the easiest way to do things, like when we go to the gym, for example. It also doesn't mean taking unnecessary risks and suffering just for the sake of suffering. It means taking worthwhile risk and choosing a meaningful struggle in service of that person we want to become. Here at INK, it's about innovation. Innovation means taking risk, and with risk comes fear. By demonizing that fear, we have made it our enemy. But fear is a necessary access point to all the rewards that lie on the other side of it. The solution to engaging that fear and handling it is simple. Get clear on what you are striving toward and why, so you know what's waiting for you on the other side. And then work your way up the ladder of fear, one small risk at a time. Most importantly, though, fall in love with that inevitable fear and pain you will feel on that journey to accomplishing something worthwhile. Believe that fear will work for you, and it will. That's what got me out of the abyss. It's simple, but not easy. That voice of fear, doubt, guilt, whatever, will always be there. We have to choose how we respond to it. That voice once brought me to the brink of suicide, but it also guided me into the Marines, into some of the most beautiful places on earth, and onto a lifelong journey to run across every country in the world. My mission now is to create enduring peace one community at a time by spreading Fearvana throughout our human family. Because when we engage our fears in pursuit of a worthy struggle, that has the power to break down our walls and our shared appreciation of each other's humanity, shedding that sense of otherness that is at the root of all conflict. Seeing me struggle is what had George, a complete stranger, welcome me into his home for water and give me a big hug midway through my 55-mile run across Luxembourg. Our mutual struggles and our mutual pain brought me, a U.S. Marine, together with local Iraqis who told me that we must work together to create a brighter future for us all. Love and fear can coexist, and I believe they need to. So I invite you all to never stop chasing fear. Otherwise, we might all spend our lives running from it. Thank you.